Good evening, it's Monday the 21st of July and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Aviation tragedy, Bangladesh Air Force jet crashes into college campus, leaving one dead and raising concerns over military aircraft safety. Maritime emergency, fire erupts on passenger vessel off Sulawesi coast, prompting massive rescue as 284 escape and 5 lives lost. Heartwarming ceremony, local residents transform small town library into wedding venue, celebrating love and literacy in a one-of-a-kind community gathering.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Aqil Qureshi.
Good evening once again. A Bangladesh Air Force in F-7 BGI training jet crashed into Milestone School and College in Dhaka's Uttara area earlier today, killing 1 and injuring at least 4. Emergency crews battled the blaze and rushed victims to military hospitals.
A Bangladesh Air Force F-7 BGI training jet crashed into Milestone School and College in Dhaka's Uttara neighborhood shortly after taking off from a nearby airbase at 1:06 local time. The Chinese-built aircraft, commonly used for advanced pilot training, plummeted into the college's rooftop canteen area, triggering a massive fire and widespread panic among students and staff. Eyewitnesses reported a loud explosion followed by columns of black smoke rising into the sky. Rescue teams, including military personnel, firefighters from 8 different stations, and border guard Bangladesh units responded swiftly, evacuating the area and battling the blaze. Emergency crews managed to bring the fire under control after nearly an hour of intense effort. Debris from the crash scattered across the school premises and adjacent roads, while frightened students were seen fleeing the scene. Officials have since closed off the area and suspended academic activities until further notice. According to the Inter-Service Public Relations Office and fire service officials, 1 person was confirmed dead, while at least 4 others sustained injuries, some of them critical. Although local media outlets initially reported up to 13 injuries, including students, official sources have not corroborated these higher figures. The identity of the deceased has not yet been made public, and authorities are investigating whether the fatality involved the pilot, a school employee, or a passerby. The injured were transported to the combined military hospital in Dhaka for treatment. Family members of potential victims gathered at the scene and nearby hospitals in search of their loved ones. Authorities said they will provide compensation and medical assistance to those affected. School administrators expressed deep sorrow over the incident, stating that they had never anticipated a military crash within their premises. They have requested a formal review of military flight patterns over educational zones in urban centers. This tragic event has sparked renewed debate over the safety of conducting military training exercises in densely populated areas like Dhaka. Aviation experts and civil society groups are calling on the government and armed forces to re-evaluate current protocols governing flight routes, aircraft maintenance schedules, and air safety regulations, particularly for older jets like the F-7 series, which have a history of mechanical issues. Environmentalists and education advocates are also urging more rigorous risk assessments before approving air operations near civilian infrastructure. The Ministry of Defense has announced a formal investigation into the Uttara crash led by senior Air Force officials and pledged to share its findings with the public to ensure transparency and prevent future tragedies.
In yet another aviation incident, 2 men tragically died when a plane crashed into paddock in Queensland Darling Downs, causing a massive fireball. Despite efforts by a property owner and emergency services, the blaze could not control in time. Authorities confirmed people around the world are on their toes with the aviation accidents occurring recently.
A light plane up in the air plummeting to the ground, killing the 2 men inside. It was actually a property owner nearby who heard the loud explosion just after 3 o'clock yesterday, sounding the alarm. Emergency crews, they came in many crews here, but the 2 men inside, well, they were unable to be saved.
The 2 occupants of the plane have been declared deceased and died on impact.
It's understood it was on its way back to Archerfield when suddenly it became distressed. A report will be prepared for the coroner.
China has officially begun constructions on the Yalang Zangbo hydropower project in Tibet, set to become the world's largest dam. The $170 billion initiative has heightened environmental and geopolitical concerns in India and Bangladesh over water security downstreams.
China's Premier Li Qiang presided over the groundbreaking ceremony marking the official start of construction on the Motuo hydropower station along the Yalang Sangpo River in the Tibet Autonomous Region. The project, set in one of the most geologically dynamic and remote regions on Earth, is expected to become the world's largest dam, surpassing the Three Gorges in both scale and output. With a projected cost of 1.2 trillion yuan, the development includes 5 cascading hydroelectric power stations designed to harness the river's powerful descent through what is considered the world's deepest canyon. Once operational, it is expected to generate nearly 300 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity annually, 3 times more than the Three Gorges Dam. Officials in Beijing frame the project as a key component of China's Shandong policy, or sending Western electricity eastward, designed to supply power-hungry industrial cities in eastern China. While government sources claim that the project will improve local Tibetan livelihoods and protect the environment, critics have raised doubts about both claims. Geopolitical and diplomatic tensions are rapidly escalating in the wake of the dam's launch. India and Bangladesh, both downstream nations, have long voiced concerns about Beijing's ability to exert influence over the Yarlung-Tsangpo water flow. In India, the river flows into Arunachal Pradesh as Siang and then into Assam and then Brahmaputra, before entering Bangladesh as the Jamuna. Indian authorities worry that the new dam could allow China to hold back water during critical agricultural seasons or release it suddenly, potentially flooding vast regions. Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu has warned that the project poses an existential threat to communities like northeastern India, especially indigenous groups like the Adi tribe, whose livelihoods depend on the river. India has also announced its own hydropower dam project on the Siang River as a strategic buffer. Bangladesh, too, has sent formal inquiries to Beijing requesting technical information and environmental impact assessments reflecting regional fears that the dam could compromise water security for millions living downstream. Beyond the geopolitical tensions, environmentalists and human rights activists are sounding alarms over the consequences for Tibet's fragile ecosystem and its indigenous populations. The area slated for dam construction lies within a seismic hotspot, raising concerns over potential structural instability in the event of an earthquake. The Yarlung-Tsangpo region is also home to rare wildlife and plant species, and the planned diversion tunnels, some 20 kilometers long through the Namcha mountain, risk altering biodiversity irreversibly. Furthermore, the Chinese state's history of forcibly relocating Tibetan villagers and cracking down on protesters has heightened concerns about the human cost. In 2024, hundreds of Tibetans were detained and reportedly beaten after protesting another dam project. Activists argue that these mega infrastructure initiatives are part of a broader strategy to exploit Tibet's natural resources while marginalizing its people. Despite state claims of ecological preservation and rural upliftment, there remains little transparency or accountability, intensifying global scrutiny of China's ambitions in the Himalayas.
Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba vowed earlier today to remain in office after his ruling LDP-Komeito coalition fell just 3 seats and short of majority of yesterday's upper house election. He cited the urgency of US tariff negotiations and surging inflation, while the opposition considers a no-confidence motion.
Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba vowed to remain in office on Monday after his ruling coalition suffered a bruising defeat in upper house elections the day prior.
I'm not currently thinking of a deadline regarding how long I will continue. As I mentioned earlier, we will do our utmost to find a way to resolve pressing issues such as the US tariff measures, rising prices, natural disasters that could happen tomorrow, and the most complex and challenging security environment of the post-war era.
Ishiba's ruling coalition fell 3 seats short of the 50 it needed to ensure a majority in the upper chamber, in an election where half of the 248 seats there were up for grabs. In addition to economic anxiety over rising prices, particularly a jump in the cost of rice, Ishiba also appears to have been hurt at the ballot box by his lack of progress in tariff talks with Japan's biggest trading partner, the United States, ahead of a looming August 1st deadline. The leader of the main opposition party, Yoshihiko Noda, said on Sunday he is considering submitting a vote of non-confidence in the Ishiba administration, as the election results showed it did not have voters' trust. And according to local media reports on Monday, some senior lawmakers in the embattled premier's own party were also quietly voicing doubts over whether he should stay. Analysts say Ishiba's days may be numbered, having also lost control of the more powerful lower house in elections last year, and shedding votes in Sunday's contest to opposition parties pledging to cut taxes and tighten immigration policies.
Heavy rains and landslides across South Korea have killed 18 people and left 9 missing, with Changsong hardest hit. Thousands have been displaced, roads flooded and flights cancelled. President Lee calls for swift disaster zone designation to aid recovery efforts.
18 people have been killed and 9 others are missing after heavy rain across South Korea beginning last week and subsequent flooding and landslides. The latest figures were announced by the Ministry of the Interior and Safety and the National Fire Agency on Monday, with the southern county of Sancheong seeing the largest number of victims with 10 dead and 4 missing. Firefighting officials say rescue operations are still underway there. Torrential downpours have slammed the country since Wednesday, with Sancheong receiving an accumulated 793.5 millimeters of rain as of 5 p.m. Sunday. The other deaths occurred in Osan and Gapyeong in Gyeonggi-do Province, Seosan and Dangjin, Chungcheongnam-do Province, and the southwestern city of Gwangju. Since last week, authorities have reported 1,999 cases of flooded roads, soil loss, and destroyed public facilities, with 2,238 other cases of damage to private property. Over 14,000 people have been taken to shelters across 15 major cities and provinces, while 62 flights were canceled. In response to the nationwide damage, President Lee Jae-myung on Sunday instructed the government to find ways to swiftly designate the areas that were hit hardest as special disaster zones. Areas designated as special disaster zones are entitled to government support for damage recovery and victim relief.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. A deadly fire aboard of KM Barcelona 5 ferry off Indonesia's Sulawesi coast has claimed at least 5 lives. With over 560 passengers rescued, the blaze erupted yesterday during the vessel's journey from the Talud Islands to Manado. Rescue teams responded swiftly to evacuate survivors. The cause of the fire remains under investigation.
A ferry on fire, and for many passengers the only decision to jump overboard. This man clings to a terrified toddler, also filming for almost 30 minutes while the ferry burns in the distance, flames consuming the upper decks of the boat. He can be heard saying, "Help, the KM Barcelona is on fire. There are still many people on board." And there were on the decks. This passenger pleads for help as others put on life jackets, hoping for a rescue. There were more than 280 people on board, and incredibly, most were saved. Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency, Navy vessels and water police all rushed to the scene, pulling passengers from the water and off the deck. The ferry was on its way to Manado, the capital of North Sulawesi, when it caught fire. The cause is still unknown.
Authorities have now confirmed that the tourist boat capsized in Vietnam's Ha Long Bay on Saturday killed at least 38 people. The Wonder Sea, carrying 53 passengers, mostly Hanoi families, faced fierce winds and rain. 10 rescued, but despite rescue efforts, 5 remain missing as search continues.
The Wonder Sea, carrying 53 people, mostly Vietnamese families from Hanoi, capsized around 2 p.m. local time after encountering sudden fierce winds, heavy rain, and lightning. 10 people were rescued, including a 14-year-old boy who was pulled out from the hull 4 hours after the capsize. 5 people are still missing, and search and rescue efforts are still underway. The storm came on so quickly that passengers had little time to react, even though life vests were available.
Christian leaders made a rare visit to Gaza following an Israeli airstrike that destroyed the enclave's only church. The United Nations and Pope Leo condemned the attack, while Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu apologized after a phone call with President Trump.
A visit to a congregation in crisis. Christian leaders were granted rare access to enter Gaza after its only Catholic church was shelled by Israel this week.
Necessary to be here, as you said, physically, to show that you are not neglected, not forgotten. And we'll do everything in order to be always close to you and to support you.
Hundreds of displaced Palestinians have sheltered on the grounds of the church since the start of the war. 3 people were killed in the attack, the parish priest among the 10 wounded. Israel said the strike was an accident, expressing regret. But the highest representative of Catholics in the region, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, called for an urgent end to the conflict.
As soon as possible to cease fire, to stop this this war, this nonsense, and this tragedy that is unjustified.
Until then, that war grinds on. And hunger is only getting worse, with aid agencies sounding the alarm over a critical risk of famine. Hospital sources say dozens of Palestinians were killed and wounded overnight in both Israeli strikes and while seeking aid. Hundreds took to the streets Friday protesting the lack of food. We go to sleep and wake up hungry. We want to eat, Mahmoud Al-Qassas says. Find a solution. It's enough, he says. All of them are hungry. All of them here are hungry and want to eat.
Ecuador has extradited notorious drug trafficker Jose Adolfo Macias, aka Fito, to the United States after recapturing him in June. Following his dramatic 2024 prison escape, he faces U.S. charges including drug and weapons trafficking and will plead not guilty in Brooklyn court.
Adolfo Macias, known as Fito, was taken out of La Roca, a maximum security prison, and handed to U.S. officials. Ecuador's prison authorities shared these pictures before the country's most infamous drug lord was extradited so he could be tried in a federal court in Brooklyn. He's charged with cocaine and weapon trafficking. The criminal gang he heads, the Choneros, is accused of committing murders, extortion, drug trafficking, and controlling Ecuador's prisons. He's tied to drug cartels and mafias in neighboring countries. He's the first to be extradited from Ecuador since the procedure was voted by Parliament last year.
My duty is to not turn away and spare myself the effort of fighting criminals who thought for years that they owned our country.
The man who used to work as a cab driver years ago was serving a 34-year sentence in a maximum security prison for murder and drug trafficking when he escaped in January of last year. This led to unprecedented violence across the country, mutinies in prison. Dozens of people were killed, and a TV crew was taken hostage by gangs during a live broadcast. Fito is suspected in the 2023 assassination of one of the main candidates running for the presidential election. Once recaptured, he was returned to prison and is now incarcerated in the U.S.
Time for a short commercial break. More world news after this. Welcome back. Waymo has launched a pilot program in Phoenix allowing teens aged 14 to 17 to use its driverless robo-taxis. The innovative initiative aims to expand autonomous vehicle access to younger riders, despite some initial hesitation around adopting a new technology. This has been taken into consideration.
Of all the ways for 14-year-old McKaylee Whitlock to hitch a ride,
hi, Waymo.
Nothing feels more natural than being driven without a driver.
I'm a competitive figure skater, and so sometimes if I need to get to an early practice or if I need to ride home from practice, I'll take a Waymo.
Their family, among the first in Waymo's new Teen Accounts program. Earlier this month, Waymo, owned by Google parent company Alphabet, launched the service allowing Phoenix area teens aged 14 to 17 to catch their own rides, with accounts linked to their parents. No driver, no parent, just a teen like McKaylee on the road in an AI-powered robot. Waymo already operates in 5 major markets for adults. While rare, there have been instances of the riderless cars malfunctioning, like for this man whose Waymo wouldn't let him out at the Scottsdale airport.
This car is just going in circles.
Waymo says that incident was due to a glitch fixed with a software update and bills its tech as the world's most experienced driver. Their data touts 88% fewer serious injury crashes than an average human driver. The future, Waymo says, coming to more cities soon, but to McKaylee, already old news.
Arlington, Virginia residents Katie Letty and Vincent Bauer won a contest that culminated in their wedding at the Arlington Public Library. The community rallied together and contributed time, resources and support to create a celebration and a memory. This heartfelt celebration highlights the power of local unity and shared joy.
For newlyweds Katie Letty and Vincent Bauer, the journey to I Do looked a little different.
Welcome, Katie and Vincent. your families and your friends, and patrons of Arlington County Public Library.
They didn't just win the game of love, but a contest and a wedding from the Arlington Public Library. Their love story began when they met in Chicago during college. After graduating, Katie got a job in Boston and Vincent got his PhD in California. Despite the distance, they made it work.
We balance each other out. And I think that's what makes us such a great team.
And now they're building their lives together in their new home, Arlington.
And with all of you, we are celebrating not just this moment, but the path that brought us here.
Total strangers going all out to get ready with art workshops and flower arrangement lessons to help with decor, music on the big day, and the library gave them this guest book filled with advice from visitors, including strangers who just wanted to wish them well.
I promise to keep trying every day with you.
As they start the next chapter of their lives, a true storybook romance.
We do.
Then let's make it so!
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Nicole Qureshi, and we'll leave you tonight with the visuals of a Guatemalan dancer soaring in a sacred Maya ritual. And also don't forget to send in your feedback through our email on feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp on 076-805-7933. And on the other side, we've got Prashanta Gunavardhan, who will be joining you next on Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching. Good night.